The Pomonal Recovery Podcast acknowledges the traditional owners of the land on which the people of Pomonal live and work, the Jabberong and Eastern Maar peoples, and recognise their connection to the land and the waterways. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. Welcome to the Pomonal Recovery Podcast, where our mission is to provide an ongoing platform to continue the work of telling our stories. The stories that we need to hear. The stories about our courage. The stories about our hopes. And the stories about our fears too. In short, this podcast aims to tell the stories that will help the people in this already remarkable town to get even closer to each other. It's a podcast where we can both celebrate our achievements and grieve about our losses. The podcast will hopefully become a forum full of helpful information and a tool for breaking down the barriers that sometimes divide us. I'm James Laidler, your host. On behalf of the Pomonal Community Resilience Group, I give you episode 2, an interview with Jill Miller. So welcome, Jill, to the podcast. It's really good to have you here. We might just start with a little bit of background information, because I'm aware that a lot of people in town will be quite familiar with who you are and what you've been doing in the background. But there would also be perhaps people who listen to the podcast that don't know you that well and don't know much about your background, in particular how it relates to Pomonal.
Sure. I've been living in Pomonal for, I think, 12 years now. But we were on a farm not all that far from that, and prior to that, Horse Gap, and prior to that, Melbourne and all sorts of places. So we came up here to be the first people in charge of the national park, which was really exciting. So that tells you how long I've lived in the area then. I guess I've always been involved in my life, I've always been involved in illness prevention and sort of looking at how your life relates to how your health is and the environment you live in. And we are so lucky because we start off with a really good environment here, and hardly any even aeroplanes going past, which is great. So I've retired about 5 years ago, and since then we've been, I guess that segues a little bit into getting the Community Resilience Group going, which we started about 6 or 7 years ago now, with the help of a bit of Red Cross help and a bit of Grampians Community Health help. And then we went from, I guess we started off thinking, all right, how can we get our community a resilience as a community, not individuals. So we started off by thinking, well, we get people to know each other, and then after, so we divided Pomonal just randomly into 4 different areas so that people could meet their neighbours. Started off the gatherings, and so that people could meet the people in their own area. We invited people round to a couple of people's places and things like that, and that was terrific. And then from that went the directory. And then the following year we had a whole of Pomonal gathering, and then we went back to the smaller ones and then back to the bigger ones and so on. So, and in that time we also got all sorts of other things going, like the newsletter, pop-up markets. COVID hit, we got busy in COVID and made sure that everybody in Pomonal was able to appreciate what things were being grown in Pomonal and made in Pomonal, so people could actually buy locally and all that sort of stuff. Backed up a whole lot of people in COVID at the time as well. So we went, I guess that brought us into today's world with this absolutely ridiculous little thunderstorm that decided to land a lightning strike and just devastate us about, maybe 4 hours later or something. And so that allowed us to start. There was a few of us inside the fire line. We just got together working because we'd already been working together for so many years.
So the response was fairly instantaneous, or straight after the devastation, you were able to activate networks that already pre-existed.
Absolutely.
And can you tell us a little bit about the background of how that unfolded and what that experience has actually been like?
Yeah, it was quite dramatic really, because after the fire settled down and it was just sitting as little bits of fire all over the place, There was about 3 of us that were in town still, so we just got together and started thinking, well, what do we need to do? And the first obvious one was that we knew that in Stawell and Ararat that the rental market is pretty bad. And we thought, all right, we need to start going out through our networks and finding some housing that is decent, that's not a super high rent, that's got at least partial furniture, and that the people who own it were willing to do something like a 12-month. So we really just sort of started thinking, okay, we need to start joining dots, but we need the dots to join. So we were able to also take the directory, the Pomonal directory that everybody has. There'll be a new version out soon. Take the directory, carve it up, and therefore we had the list of people whose houses had gone, and whether people lived in them or whether they had just lost a house but they lived somewhere else. And then we started working on trying to find those dots, the house that somebody might like, and then once people got together between a house and themselves, we'd just back off. That's not our role
so
to keep
you
going.
actually had discussions with people who'd lost their houses and you talked to them about what they were looking for and hoping for, and then you tried to match that up with some sort of profile that you developed around the houses.
Around the houses. And we'll keep that list open for about 18 months now, because naturally people may want to change partway through and things like that.
Yeah, and the situation on the grounds, have most people been able to find temporary accommodation, or is there still need there or holes?
No, everybody has got somewhere at the moment, and there's maybe somebody who might need to move in about 4 months' time. Not everybody's wanted to stay in town, and some people wanted to be further away from, say, the burn part naturally, and some people that they wanted to stay close. And we've got some people being hosted by lovely people over in Halls Gap, and we've got people in Stawell being hosted there, and Moyston's got some people too. So it's and that's lovely. It's lovely to think that our neighbours' towns are hosting, because that's another part of the way we've worked as Resilience, was to sort of create links between Moyston and Halls Gap particularly, as along the line of the Grampians, for all sorts of different reasons. It's been good to be together for that.
Yeah, and has that been really encouraging as a person in the leadership role and behind the scenes, actually seeing those connections being made and the generosity being
the generosity has just been over the top. I mean, in the early stages we were thinking, well, if we can, when people were ringing up and saying, what do you need? And we were saying, well, it would be terrific if you could help us with vouchers, because vouchers mean that people can go and buy what they want. And then there's also a huge quantity of people who wanted to donate goods and linens, and a pillow manufacturer decided to make 200 pillows for us in Pomonal, and we had more toothbrushes than we probably needed for the next 2 or 3 years, but as a town. But the overall generosity and the thoughtfulness of the things that people gave us, including food, and then some people arrived with 100 meals all ready to go and distribute, and they did that twice. And so that also meant, as the rest of our Resilience team came back into Pomonal, we were able to start, the people who were excellent at spreadsheets and the people who were excellent at running the hub with all the clothing and sorting, and then teams grew out of teams as well. There's a huge amount of people coming, volunteering at the hub. I was
just going to mention that. So you got an influx of people who are also wanting just to contribute their time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I noticed that at the church there'd always be cars parked there, and I never actually went in there, but there was a shift. You could join up and get involved that way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And Lynn has done a staggering job in there, just getting things together. But then other people came in and helped her too, and put stuff onto lists, and then lists got created into spreadsheets, and we also got we've done about $25,000 of vouchers out to people who lost their homes, and to do that meant we needed to record every one of those vouchers so that we knew where it all went. And then this last lot of vouchers, we got 15,000 the other day for more vouchers. So we're busy shopping for vouchers at the moment, but we were able to say to the people, do a friends and our people in our community, sort of say to them, look, what would you actually like us to go by this time?
Yeah. I reckon that's a really good segue into. So one of the purposes of the podcast is also to not just provide information, but to clarify processes and that sort of thing, and create a transparency for people and accountability, so people have confidence going forward.
Absolutely.
Could you walk us through? So there's all these donations coming in, there's vouchers, and what the hell did you do with that influx, all that stuff coming in? Where did you start to think, well, how do we do this fairly? And how do we make it the system robust enough to cope with? Because there's always a chance that people are going to have misgivings and concerns.
And also, one thing I'd like to say to everybody through the podcast too is that those lists are confidential. So we won't be there's 3 people working in vouchers. That's the only people that will see the voucher list. But we've also made sure that it's got equity in it. We were able to lift out of one of the government websites, we were able to lift out a ratio for if you had 2 people living together, or a person living singly, or somebody who has dependent people with them. And so we were able to lift that ratio out and then apply that, if you like, to the voucher system. And we started all that recording really early, which was great. We're really talking like week 1 for getting spreadsheets up. Yeah. First spreadsheet was obviously the housing spreadsheet.
Yes.
The next spreadsheet then became the one where I have, which is a spreadsheet that actually literally has those 2 things, and then you join the dots between those things. And then there's the donations. There's been heaps of anonymous donations. There's also been, we were able to work out a system where people, as you know, everybody would know that there's a GoFundMe page, which has accumulated a lot of money. There's people then who didn't necessarily want to go through GoFundMe, which is all fine. So we found 2 other streams. We talked to Grampians Community Health, and they've been fundraising on our behalf, so that gives people gift deductibility. And then the other one was to Pomonal Progress Association account, because resilience is part of progress. And so then we had to re-register ourselves with Consumer Affairs Victoria, just to have a good backing, so that everybody knows that it's fine.
So the thing is that you've thought about the legal implications and what is best practice, and you've tried to put them into place.
And we've also started talking to a couple of other areas as well that have gone through similar things to us, to find out what were good things and what were bad things. And I guess like Maribyrnong, who actually had floods, they sent us some really valuable information, things that they were starting maybe 9 months down the track. And we already had those things in place, which was just terrific, because, we're sort of a bit ahead of the ball game, if you like.
I think waiting. You mentioned to me in a separate conversation about Malakuta fires as well, that some of the processes they had in, like lists of where people were and ways to contact them, that was 6 months or something into the process. So.
Because people, I think the thing that we did that was a bit different was that we were proactive at the beginning, rather than waiting for the bigger, more formal groups to come in. And we were very much in touch with Rural City of Ararat throughout all of that as well. But because we were the sort of proactively getting things going, and Rural City of Ararat's been terrific, because they've just said, look, we're happy to back you in for all sorts of things. Like we're due to have one of our gatherings, for instance, but the fire burnt that out of us. And then we thought, no, this will be good about 3 weeks out. Let's just have a community party and get us all together. And Rural City of Ararat just said, yep, go for it, there's the money, and you do what you're going to do. So that's how we ended up with the...
So the council just donated money for that event?
We'd already assigned a bit of money through Pomonal Progress to it, and... I guess it was a bit cheeky. Just sort of said to them, hey, would you fund it instead? And they knew that, and they said, yeah, go for it.
And I was there that night. That was a really wonderful community night. A great spirit was amongst people, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and also because we'd had gatherings before, it wasn't foreign to our town. Because we'd had food trucks there one other time as well, and some music and stuff, and it was just, it was lovely. It felt very nice.
Yeah. I suppose the big questions about the council, because people would have heard a lot of early talk and a lot of early promises. I know one of the impressions from me with Dr. Tim, he mentioned one of the first information gatherings that he was there to do what we were asking him to do and to empower the people to make decisions. And is that how it's played out so far?
That is how it's played out. And then naturally their processes are going to come in as well from Emergency Recovery Victoria and Emergency Recovery Australia, and then through to our rural cities. So there's other, like we sort of have just gone through a little hole where lots of things have been happening, and then all of a sudden there's some clean-up stuff and it's a bit unclear. But that's because our rural city itself has got to wait for some of the other stuff coming through. Yeah. And it's all actually, as we speak now, it's actually all just gearing back up again. And I think there's a lot of different acronyms running around at the moment as to who's helping who and what to do with cleanup.
So when it comes to council and stuff, so the processes can be slow and cumbersome at times because they've got a lot of machinations in the background, so this has to happen.
Bigger things
and
in the background.
Do you get the sense that sometimes causes frustration for people in the town?
Absolutely, and that was why it was like, we fell into this hole for a couple of weeks and it was just horrible. But I guess, and we sort of tried to alleviate that with other things where there's places to go in Pomonal where you can have a hug and have a coffee and things like that. I think one of the other things in terms of having a coffee too brings me to just obviously people who know me are going to know that my daughter is Nadia. So if I can take that out of this and just say how lucky we are as a town to have a shop. We've got a focal point, and we've got a focal point where when in the early stages, before any of the relief hubs could be set up, we actually had a point where the Grampians Community Health counsellors could be, and so could the council workers, who were busy registering people so that you can get the help you need and all that sort of stuff. And just having it all together in the one place made it very friendly and nice to be there. It was
going in there was actually a joyful experience because there were so many people wanting to help you. It was like the beating heart of the town.
And we came.
And there was always smiles when you went in there, and it was a very tender place.
We came so close to it actually burning at the back. That's actually the back post is burnt of the actual shop. But this is where I really want to do I don't know how you ever say thank you to the Forest Fire Management, the green guys, and the CFA, the yellow guys, and all the work they did. And I know, for instance, Moyston Fire Brigade was the one who actually went down to the back of the shop and saved the gas shed, which was important, and then pulled out things like a ride-on mower that was there to get it out of the fire before then they blasted the fire in the back shed and stuff. So the fireys, you couldn't fault the fireys this time, and because I was around inside the fire, I just deeply appreciate what they did for us.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people got that sense when I was talking to Russ in the last episode of how harrowing the whole experience was, but also how bonding and meaningful it was for those people.
Absolutely. I mean, that first, I think it was the day after the fire, my neighbour Pam and Keith, they organised at the CFA shed, they organised a barbecue for everybody who was in there. I take my hat off to Pam. She just produced masses of food for, I think there was about 40 of us turned up.
Yeah, they're amazing. I've been down there a few times, and they put on a good
but she did that just after a fire. She had it all out of wherever she managed to get it out of. I don't even know how she did that.
Yeah, and Keith's an interesting one to talk about too. He's running a photography course as one of the activities in the hall.
Yeah.
And you were talking about grabbing a cup of coffee with people. There's actually, if you get your hands on, it's in some of the Facebook pages, an outline of what activities you can do. One of them is having a coffee and chat.
Yes.
Which would be fantastic to go down there and maybe even meet some people you haven't met before or talk to familiar faces.
And look, it's interesting because before the fires, Pomonal Progress had already thought that one of the things we needed to do was to fund like yoga and Tai Chi that were coming, but, the people who were coming, there wasn't that many people coming to the course. And we thought, well, if we can make it free to Pomonal for 6 months or something, and then Barb then got going with her community calendar and got things into the community calendar, and then we were able to back it with some PPA money, not donation money, but PPA money already. So therefore, that it's got legs then as well.
Oh, it's amazing. It's really super exciting. My wife went to yoga last Saturday and she loved it. It was 20 odd people there.
Yeah.
Having a great time. I'm doing a creative writing course, running it tonight. And I think there's going to be quite a few people coming to that.
Yeah,
so and it's just great to belong to a place that sort of thing's happening.
Yeah.
It's knitting people together.
Exactly. And we can sort of run the calendar for 6 months and then have another look and then maybe run it for the next 6 months as well. I mean, it's just that sort of and the communication between. Funnily enough, like it was only last year that we got together, every group in Pomonal, in a thing we called Pomonal Talks, and out of that came a whole lot of stuff. And one of them is that that people wanted to form up a grant writing group between all the different organisations to help each other. And now we're going to be looking at grants now running around all over the place, and so that group will come into its own as well.
Yeah, fantastic.
Talking about donations, just quickly. The next little iteration of donations is that we will be a group together that will be looking at that. I don't exactly know what it's going to do until the group forms up, except that we definitely know it will go out and ask Pomonal exactly what Pomonal wants to do with the grant money. And the grant money, the donation money, the donations that are coming through, it's really a longer term game than a short term game on that one. And there might be money that can be released a bit earlier and then some stuff that might be, but that needs to be asked through the community.
Yeah, so you would encourage people to come forward to have those chats, and when those requests go out for ideas, that they participate in that process.
Yeah, yeah.
And if they have any concerns about that, they approach you and
more than
talk
happy
to you.
To talk
and
about
I certainly
because it will be very transparent.
Yeah, and I want to take my hat off to you, because I'm aware that being on one of those committees, for instance, that's allocating funds, that's not a job that I would want to do. I think it doesn't get much accolades. It's kind of hidden in the background, and you're nervous about what people are thinking. And I think it would come with a degree of pressure. And this is all volunteer work. So for those people out there, and you know who you are, hats off to you. And you're not even getting named. Really special.
And I think all the different various buckets of money will come into the same place at some stage in the future. But at the moment we still know we've got some fairly big donations coming in May, June, and so we want to wait till they're through and then, but it will be a very transparent, it won't be transparent in as much as if somebody needs some particular help or something, that would be a confidential thing, but it would be definitely transparent in how we go out and ask everybody, what do we all want as a community going forward.
And in the newsletter, will you be able to release eventually, not names or anything like that, but just sort of figures on what's come in and how it's been divided amongst how many people?
Absolutely. But once the group gets together, then it will form up. And as I said before too, we're certainly talking to other people who've been through the same thing, find out what was good, what was a pitfall, all that sort of stuff, so we don't make any mistakes.
So the whole philosophy that underpins a lot of the stuff that's going on the ground for the resilience team, is that been influenced by your previous work at Champions Health?
Look, to a degree, I've always really, really enjoyed the idea that, I guess it's what forms up as community development, where you start with a bit of an idea and you go and you check it out with everybody to find out if your idea's worth it or not. And if I'm talking about like in the health zone, the illness prevention zone, you'd sort of think up something and you might go out and like talk to a whole heap of people who have that particular problem and find out what they want to do, and is the idea you've got right or wrong, and then you get together a bit of a group and then they help you to make sure you get some money from somewhere, and you've no idea really, which is the exciting thing, and almost the exciting thing at the moment too. We've no idea what the end point will be for what Pomonal will be like in the future. But we're going to be able to hopefully blend ourselves through together as a community to get what we want at the other end of it and what will be the new Pomonal. So it's that process I love, where you keep gathering people with special skills and different things towards that.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, as somebody who's come in, late on the scene, moving to Pomonal, that's the vibe I get. I don't feel like it's an established town that's got walls up, and got little people who only associate with each other. It feels really open. The fact that I could come to a community and say, look, I've got a podcasting studio and I can do this if you want.
Which is a very cute studio, I might say.
Yeah, no, it is cute. And it was really thrilling that they just went, that can work. And as I think they're the sort of things that build up that cohesion, that solidarity with people. It's really, really, really good.
And there's no one in charge. We're doing it together, which is great. I mean, just even little things that, like Danny Fraser, thought, gee, we need some signs up saying thank you to everybody. So he designed a sign and he went and got it printed and then he put it up. And it's just sort of like, wow, that's just cool. That's the way it needs to be, where we're all looking after each other and looking out for different things, and nobody's got a fix on absolutely everything should be done. But as we roll, because we're quite a big group in Resilience, there's about 25 of us, I think, plus a whole lot of other people that are actually working around us as well. And so we meet once a week right now, so that all the different areas we can just check off with each other to make sure that we all know what each other are doing and everything, and that the information's flowing. And while I'm talking about information, we've got people who are fantastic with Facebook, so we have our little updates that go out. Obviously, not everybody is on Facebook, so the little update goes to so that's Patricia doing the first bit, and then we've got Jenny, who is the part where that goes out on a text messaging system to people who don't get that, and then it goes to Jackie, and Jackie puts it out, puts all the stuff out on the
which is
directory.
A really good time to say, if there's anybody out there that actually is not on the mailing list or not on Facebook, how can they get on those?
Probably the best. I'm happy to give my number again. It's all over the place, but 0418 358381, and I can get you started into whichever of those areas you want to be tagged into. If you're on the directory already, you'll be getting it via email. If you're not on the directory already, like you weren't, and we got you signed up the other day, and you need to sign a piece of paper to say that you're happy to be on the directory. The Pomonal directory only goes to people in Pomonal. It doesn't go anywhere else. So it's confidential to Pomonal, if you like. But that way you will always get it on email as well. And that way you get the Pomonal newsletter, and also now you'll get the Ararat Rural City newsletter as well that's going out each time
That's a pretty good bargain, I reckon.
Yeah, for free.
For free, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Look, I just want to backtrack a tiny little bit. Earlier on you were mentioning that some people were living, felt like they needed to live away from town, some people in town. I suppose when you said that earlier, it instantly made me think, there's probably a lot of emotional and psychological things going on for people. And absolutely. I know that early on in one of the meetings that was the first thing you acknowledged in one of your addresses to people, that everyone's different, everyone's going to be at different places. I suppose I just wanted to hear from you about that area of dealing with a disaster and the fallout. Do you have anything you want to say about that? I know you've sent something out recently that might be useful for people.
Yeah, we have. It went out with the last Pomonal newsletter, so it was the second attachment on the email system. So it's worth having a look at, because it is after something like this just happened to all of us. One, we're all tired. And two, that's emotional tiredness as well, which is not something you can sleep off or anything like that. But it does mean you need to get out in some green space somewhere, or wherever your best place is that wasn't on your place if you've lost your house and stuff like that. get out somewhere like Lake Fynes, just look at a broader view. If you're finding it hard because you'll be feeling a bit nauseated all the time and maybe stomach cramps and all sorts of different things like that, that all happen quite naturally afterwards too. It's part of the adrenaline cycle. When you get butterflies in your tummy, just making yourself a good quality smoothie with maybe yogurt or raw eggs, some fruit, and banana. Mixing those things together. You won't even taste the raw egg. Don't worry about that. It just gives you some really good vitamins, and maybe a bit of honey in it. And drink your nutrition. You can't really do it for every meal, but you can certainly do it when looking at food that is a bit lumpy, you don't want to eat it.
So you seem to be suggesting here that in the busyness of sometimes recovery, there's a lot of things that happen. People are trying to rebuild. They're on the phone. They're doing lots of things, but
your mind's going round and round in circles.
But people need to prioritise themselves. Time out.
Absolutely. And also a couple of really possibly useful little hints, so that all that stuff doesn't go round and round and round in your head. Just grab a notebook from somewhere or whatever, or into your computer, and just start writing down all the things that you're feeling and what you're hating and what you're loving and what you don't, and just get it out of your head. That's really important, to get it out somewhere and onto a piece of paper can be really quite cathartic. The other thing to do too is when you're feeling pretty good, because you'll be feeling good and you'll be feeling terrible and you'll be feeling horrible, thoughts and good thoughts. When you're feeling good, just write yourself a short list of the things that you love doing. It might be taking a bath, it might be buying yourself a bunch of flowers, it might be walking up a mountain. Have that stuck on the fridge somewhere, and then when you're feeling really down, try to make yourself go and do something off that list. Get out of the house, go somewhere, do something. So that can really help a lot.
Yeah, excellent. And so the thing that was sent out was like some advice on mental health and looking after yourself.
And also, I think that same page has some ideas just around the physical things that will happen for you. Like you've had things where you think, oh my God, maybe I'm having a heart attack. Well, possibly aren't. But if you find yourself in that sort of a state because you're in pain, if you can take a few moments out and take some really good deep breaths, sit down somewhere comfortable and just look at something, every detail on that something, so that your mind is concentrated. And then if you're still not well after that, naturally seek some help. But those sort of feelings, physical feelings, run through you all the time. When you're in
people
stress.
might just hit a wall at some point. And so in the aftermath of a disaster, there can be a delay in when things actually can kick in and actually be felt, physically.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, some people cope really well at the time, and then in 6 months' time you suddenly hit a wall, or 12 months' time, or 2 weeks' time after something happens.
And that's all normal.
Absolutely.
This is all normal. And so if those things happen to you, try not to panic, but try to think through it, talk to someone, and maybe get a point of reference, because you'll probably find that it's a pretty normal human response.
Yeah, and also I think the thing to also keep in mind too is for other people that because everybody's doing it in a different way at a different time, and some people do something outlandish and you think, why on earth did that happen? Just cut people some slack, because we are all going through this together no matter which way you look at it. Every time you go down to the shop, you walk out the front and you look over the road and you go, oh my God, this doesn't look like Pomonal anymore. We just need to, I think one of the things I have said a couple of times at those meetings is, if you are feeling anger, walk away for a while, even if you have to say to somebody, look, I just need to walk away and I'll come back. And with your spouse or your dog, just don't take it out on somebody. Figure out that, okay, this is a response, anger, as tears, as feeling just really low. They're all natural in where we're at the moment. So if you feel that anger rising, just take that space, walk away and go, okay.
Yeah, and if something's
deep breaths.
If something is said to you, say tersely or sort of in someone's in a bad mood, don't necessarily take it personally, but maybe walk away. Just think about, well, that person might have a bit going on,
Absolutely.
and if it's probably might be out of
Absolutely.
character. And like you said, cut them some slack.
Hugs are good, and fires do burn off your coping mechanism sometimes for a while.
Yeah, great. Excellent. Well, Jill, I reckon that's about it for today. We've spoken for quite a while. It's excellent what you've come in here and spoken about. I just asked you to leave us with, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Could you tell us something in the last few months? Is there something that sticks out of you as quite remarkable? I don't know, act of generosity or...
Oh, God, I don't even know how I could... There's all the stuff that Pomonal Resilience Group and everybody who's been helping us. And then there are just enormous amounts of acts of random kindness going on. You know, people collecting wood, dropping it to somebody's place who they know needs it more than it, There's gorgeous things happening, like, people finding an engagement ring in rubble. This is where I'm going to do that. The sort of the semi-teary bit, only because, I just hear so many things that so many people have done for so many other people, and it's been remarkable, and it would be so hard to find one that would stand out above the others, because everybody is doing something for everybody else, and then there's the sort of the stuff that we're doing as Pomonal Resilience, if you like, and then there's also the way the guys from outside are treating us, or it's just an unbelievable amount of goodwill has come our way.
And does that give you hope for our humanity?
Oh, yeah, always, in terms of hope for humanity. I mean, the world is a pretty chaotic place at the moment, but, the people that we meet here, or the people who go down to Warrnambool and stand and watch the whales, like hundreds of people watching whales, I go, we're good people. Yeah.
Great, what a great place to finish on. So thanks again, Jill. And
thank you.
Next episode, I'm not sure who we're going to have, but we're going to be having someone very interesting. And we're just going to finish this episode with a song like we did last time. This song has got a weird name called Fungus, and it's by the Narcissus Cookbook, which is kind of odd, but I promise you it's actually a song about us. See you later.